Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you. Hare. You got it. Hare Rama. Yes. Hey. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You want it back? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vibration, the halva, so they'll be chanted in the function.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Parama Karuna Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Parama Karuna Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Parama Karuna Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Parama Karuna Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Srila Prabhupada Ki. Haribol.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome back to ISKCON Sandton, New Varsanadam. Devotees, just a few announcements, Maharaj, if you don't mind, and we can get the admin out of the way. Thank you, Maharaj. So devotees, thank you very much for coming to this wonderful program that we have with Maharaj. I know we couldn't have the kirtan yesterday, but we did have the class today, so thank you for the wonderful devotees for coming through today. I think it's just important from a protocols perspective to please make sure you keep your mask on. Thank you very much for sanitizing and checking your temperatures on entrance at the gates. Please also remember that the chairs that are set out is for your safety and social distancing. So please make sure you don't move your chairs in the course of today's program. Devotees, if you do have children, please make sure that you keep them close by to you. If you are unaware, we also have Krishna Kids that happens parallel to the actual program here. So if you do have small kids, you're welcome to register your kids with Michaela Mataji. Michaela Mataji actually took initiation last night. So her new name is Ganga Mata Goswamini. Haribol! So you can register with GMG. I just call it that for short sake. But Ganga Mata Goswamini, you can register your kids with her and you can attend Krishna. Not you, but your kids can attend Krishna Kids with them. Devotees, there has been a very interesting project that happened yesterday out here in the garden. We had some very interesting times where Maharaj was actually out in the garden, filling up all the seeds with bhakti last night. So we have some wonderful plants that have been placed all over the wonderful garden here. We've got seedlings that are going out. We've got 108 footsteps that are set out for you here for you to do japa. So in case you forgot your bead bag, don't worry about it. You can count them on the steps. At the start, we have 2 brown steps which you can identify at the start, and at the end there, you have another 2. So that's number 1 and number 108, and that would be 54 and 55 that you would see on the other side. It depends where you start as well. So we've got some lovely japa walking steps here. Thank you, Maharaj, for your hard work in the garden yesterday. You were out there holding the watering. I saw the gardening. Let's give Maharaj a great big Hari Hari Bol. So wonderful start to the new season, and for us to obviously get Maharaj Darshan out in the garden. So thank you very much for that. Devotees, just if you do have children, if we would please ask not to go and fiddle around with the newly planted seeds or seedlings as well. Even we've partitioned the area in the back as well. That area has been the new grass that has been laid out, so we obviously need to give the grass some time to catch up and start to grow as well. So as a result, if we could just stay away from the, let's call it the out of bound area for now. So thank you for your compliance in that as well. Devotees, we'd like to also just thank a few important devotees for today. We'd like to thank the Kirtanis for the wonderful Kirtan that they've been sharing. We'd like to thank the COVID support team led by Yudesh and Yadvat Prabhu today. The altar set up in the garden. I think it's important for us to welcome the wonderful deities that we have. So if we could just all raise our hands loudly and say, Parama Karuna Gauranitaya Ki. We've got some wonderful deities that have come here. The bigger the deities, usually the more mercy we get from him as well. So thank you very much to Nadia Mataji for bringing your wonderful deities, giving us the opportunity to take their darshan. We also like to thank the COVID team, the altar setup team led by Ananda Amrita Mataji, Govinda, Madana Gopal, and a few other devotees that have been there. I think it was Kalpalatika Mataji and some others were also helping. So thank you very much for your service in there. Devotees, also Govindas will be opened up until the end of the program. So if you want to go and purchase something from Govindas, you're welcome to do so. They will be open for you. And just in terms of the upcoming programs that's going to happen, we will have Harinam that will again start on Friday. Unfortunately, it was cancelled due to the weather. And then we'll continue with the Saturday Kirtan and the Sunday class program out here in the garden. Hopefully, Lord Indra will be merciful enough not to be around when we have the program, because we don't have a backup plan when it does rain. Devotees, also today's Prashadam has been sponsored by Hemanga Chaitanya Prabhu on behalf of his late mom. If we could just raise our hands and just give again, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So thank you very much, Hemanga Chaitanya Prabhu, for sponsoring the wonderful feast for today for the devotees on behalf of your late mom. We also like to thank the cooks that are in the kitchen today, led by Ananga Sundari Mataji, Loka Prabhu, and Shama Gauri Devidasi. So let's give them a great big Hari Hari Bol. So devotees, the next part of the program is not Prashadam, but we will have that available for you when we are leaving. I think I'm going to hand you over to Maharaj. We won't have any more announcements, I promise. I won't speak anymore. But the next part of the program will be some class, followed by some kirtan led with Aarti. I think Maharaj will lead the kirtan, we'll have some Aarti, and after that we'll have some optional japa time. And after japa we'll have some prasadam. So now you know the whole layout of the entire day. Let's sit back, relax, and enjoy the wonderful association of Maharaj. His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj Ki. Thank you, Maharaj.
Haribol. Thank you, Prabhu. I heard you're going to leave us and go to Lanesia. You're defecting.
Sorry, Maharaj. Unfortunately, I have to leave.
We will struggle on without you somehow.
Maharaj, we're in safe hands with you around. There's nothing that can go wrong with you, yeah. Thank you, Maharaj.
That's what you think. Okay. Well, you know, it's a little bit of a long story, not a very long one, but I just made some halava, and it's going to be distributed to you in due course. And just a warning, watch out. When you take it, make sure you're sitting down. It's high power. It's extremely high power. Yeah. Yes, well, devotees, we're trying to sort of make a little more here of this very beautiful, just wonderful place we have. So as Prabhu said, we have installed a japa, what would you say anyway, japa way there. And when we finish the kirtan, the arti and the kirtan, plus or minus 5 o'clock, then I am going to, what would you say, christen it? Can you say that? Anyway, I'm going to have do the first round, official round, yes. Because it's nice, it's rather nice. And our intention, well, we're going to try and do different things actually just to increase and deepen the transcendental atmosphere. We haven't decided exactly what, but we are going to, in one way or another, sort of Vrindavanize, if there is such a word, our japa way by putting different things at the end, in the center at the end. We're hoping to put a nice tulsi shrine, yeah, there, and we're going to have, in one way or another, I'm not quite sure what we'll do, but how we'll do it, but I mean, the simplest thing would be every so many meters, a stake in the ground with a waterproofed, laminated, nice photograph of something in Vrindavan, I think. Maybe make it like a Govardhan parikrama, all the different places in a Govardhan parikrama, something like that, you know, every so many steps, every so many meters, to inspire and encourage the devotees. Either Govardhan or maybe different places around Vraj Mandala or something along those lines. That's the basic idea. That's the basic idea there. And we're putting some grass in because it was all sort of I don't know, what would you say, a little barren at the back there. I don't know what happened, but it was just bare earth. So we put some grass and we're going to put some more and pray to God that it grows. I thought that end was blocked. Anyway, okay. No, don't walk on the grass. Yeah, we're trying to protect it. That's what that little tape, the red and white tape is there. It's meant to keep everyone off just for a few days. I think next weekend it should be okay. Yes, and there's a few other things. We're working on some things. And today, devotees, today, well, let me just tell you, Jagannath Charan Prabhu and Mother Devahuti donated a beautiful looking gardenia tree. I don't know if it's been put in the ground yet, but then we've got night blooming jasmine just here and different roses and other varieties of jasmine. We'll really try and turn this into a nice transcendental environment. Right, okay, but what I'm doing at the moment, I'm working on a project. It's a project. It's not a huge project, but I was asked by our strategic planning team to make some slideshows to show during Kartik on their strategic planning program. So I'm working on one of Radhakund Shamakund. And so I thought today, I've been going through my photos of Radhakund and Shamakund. I'm a bit of a collector of photographs. So, yes, so all yesterday, and a couple of few hours today, I've been going through photos of different places around Radhakund, Shamakund. So I thought today we could read from Chaitanya Charitamrita and maybe some other places. Maybe there's some very nice verses in Vrindavan, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur's Vrajariti Chintamani, glorifying Radhakund Shamakund. So I thought we could focus on these things today. Right. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shamati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadesh Tarne Sri Krishna Chaitanya Pramanityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu bhyevacha. Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Yes. Last Sunday, if you were here, if you were tuned in directly or indirectly, I had to give a class which we combined with this class, but I had to give a class for devotees in our temple in Amsterdam, Holland, where I've been a few times, quite a number of times, and Belgium, where they also, at least half the country, they speak Dutch. And so I told them, ek kan een klein bietjie Afrikaans praat. And they said, what? Anyway, it's a bit of a long story. I offered to speak in Afrikaans, which, is Netherlands-based, although there are substantial differences. And they said, no, it's all right, just speak English. So I did. But today we have no such problems. Right, so I am now going to read a sequence of verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela chapter 18, titled, is it Adi Leela? Madhya Leela, excuse me. Madhya Leela chapter 18, which is titled Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Visit to Vrindavan. Yes, so we'll begin with verse 1 of the chapter, then we'll read on for a number of verses and make a few comments here and there. Vrindavane stiracharan, nandayan swavalokanai, atmanam cha tad alokad, Gauranga parito brahmat. Is it too loud? I think it's distorting. Anyway, I'll leave it. Fuzzy buzzy. That's the worst. That we used this morning. Oh. Okay. Haribol, dajcie meneer microfoon. Woord. Okay. Haribol. Oops. Haribol. How's that? Fuzzy buzzy? Use the same green cable. we read it's Sanskrit for verse 1. And let's read the translation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu traveled all over Vrindavan and pleased all living entities, moving and non-moving, with his glances. Is that good enough? Is it really? Really? Okay, fine. Thank you. The Lord took much personal pleasure in seeing everyone. In this way, Lord Gauranga traveled in Vrindavan. So Lord Chaitanya went to Vrindavan. First time he wanted to go there, but there's actually no really clear explanation of why he didn't go all the way. He went part of the way. Not half of the way, but, well, actually from Jagannath Puri it might be half the way or something like that, 1/3. But then he decided to come back to Puri. We'll go back through Bengal and then go back to Puri. So, and we don't really know why, but because he was determined to go and went through quite some complications to go, but then he didn't go. But now this time he did go, and he took an assistant with him, Balabhadra Bhattacharya. No, it wasn't Balabhadra. Who was it? One Krishna Das. It was one Krishna Das who Lord Chaitanya took with him. Balabhadra Bhattacharya went with Lord Chaitanya through South India for, 8 years, 6 years, something like that. Okay. Anyway, it may have been with Balabhadra Bhattacharya also. Anyway, here they are. Lord Chaitanya, when he visited Vrindavan, it was the whole experience for him was very overwhelming. And Lord Chaitanya, during his pastimes, he was always in a state of ecstasy, just always. When I do my exercises every morning, can you believe it, devotees? I do exercises every morning. About 40 minutes. When I do my exercises, I have been playing the last few weeks, I've been playing a recitation of Chaitanya Bhagavat, which is the other, along with Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's the other, more or less the second. Chaitanya Charitamrita is basically the first, the most important biography of Lord Chaitanya. Then there's Chaitanya Bhagavat. And so I've been listening every day, every single day, for 35, 40 minutes to this recitation. It's nice. And one thing I've noticed is how, according to those descriptions, Lord Chaitanya is just always in ecstasy, incredible ecstasy. It's amazing, just amazing. Always with tears coming out, pouring out of his eyes, collapsing in ecstasy, here standing on end. Wow, it's really quite amazing, quite incredible. But when Lord Chaitanya went to Vrindavan, it was even more so. It was even more so. In fact, it reached a point, here we are, we're going to be reading about just part of it sort of in the middle of the visit. But eventually it reached the point where his assistant had to take him out and take him back to Puri because Lord Chaitanya's ecstasy was becoming so extreme that his body was not able to cope with it. So the body was basically on the point of just breaking down. Because these are, well, of course, Lord Chaitanya didn't have a material body, he had a spiritual body, but even so, it exhibited some of the characteristics of a material body. For example, his body apparently or externally aged. Things like that. Krishna's body also aged, but only up to the point of about 18 years. And for the remaining 107 years, Krishna was here 125 years. For the remaining 107, he just stayed as an 18-year-old externally. Lord Chaitanya, though, aged up to 48. Then he left this world. And so when Lord Chaitanya was there in Vrindavan, his ecstasy became so extreme, like joints dislocating, limbs extending because the joints dislocated, so the arm lengthening, legs lengthening, sometimes limbs retracting within his body. Sure, that's just pretty amazing. So his assistant took it that Lord Chaitanya was just going to, so to speak, leave his body or die, or the body would just give out. So therefore the assistant took Lord Chaitanya out. One day he just told him, we are leaving, we have to go. And Lord Chaitanya went with him and they left Vrindavan, or the Vrajmandal area, and then Lord Chaitanya's mood didn't exactly normalize, but at least it became less extreme. And then they went back to Puri. So here, though, Lord Chaitanya is in just about the most amazing part of his whole visit to Vrindavan. He's just about to discover or uncover Radha Kund and Shama Kund. So let's just read. Let's read some verses. Jai Jai Gaura Chandra Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhaktavrinda. All glories to Lord Gaura Chandra. All glories to Nityananda Prabhu. All glories to Advaita Prabhu. And all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya, headed by Srivas Thakur. E Mata Mahaprabhu, Nachite Nachite, Arit Grame Asibaya, Haila Achambite. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced in ecstasy, but when he arrived at Aritgram, his sense perception was awakened. In other words, he was just sort of lost in a transcendental world, dancing and chanting and just oblivious to anything external. And then he arrived at this one village, Aritgram or Arigram, which was at the northern end, more or less, you could say northern end of Govardhan Hill. Govardhan Hill is not north-south. It's kind of, what would you say, south-west to northeast. It runs something like that. Anyway, right at the northern end, Lord Chaitanya found this village, Arit Gram. And Lord Chaitanya, knowing the history and knowing the pastimes and all those things in just great depth, he understood. Arit. How could this village be known as Arit Gram? Gram basically means village or town or small town like that. And he understood this indicates that this is where Lord Krishna killed Aristasura. But, that was 5,000 years ago from now. And in the intervening, it would have been 4,500 years till the time of Lord Chaitanya. The names became sort of deteriorated. The language became deteriorated. Just like all languages deteriorate. I mean, languages which are used colloquially. English has deteriorated and so on and so forth. So, because, it's an interesting thing about Vrindavan, Vraj Mandala, is that basically all the names of all the villages and well, it's mainly villages because there's not many towns. They're usually small, so you would say it's a village. But pretty much all their names which reflect the history of the town, village, going back to Krishna's time. Yeah, some pastime. Basically, the majority of villages, if not all, I've been around there quite a bit, and all the ones I've been to, which is a fair number, they all have names which refer to a pastime that Krishna performed when he was there. They all do, all the ones I've been to. So when you find a village called Aritgram, Arigram, then aha, Lord Chaitanya knew this is connected with Krishna killing Aristasura, Arit, Aristasura. And Aristasura was killed where? At the place where Krishna manifested Shamakund. And then immediately after, Srimati Radharani manifested Radha Kund. So Lord Chaitanya understood this is a place. Yeah, all those villages there, they all have names like that. I don't know if I mentioned recently, but one place, it's, not exactly, well, it's one of my favorite, or it's a nice place. It's called Bijvari. And Bijvari means like a lightning bolt. That's what it means, Bijvari, in the local dialect. And there, I don't know if I mentioned this, did I? When Krishna was leaving from Nandagram, Krishna left Vrindavan from Nandagram and took the road to Mathura and went to Mathura. So the gopis and the Brijbasis, but particularly the gopis, followed Krishna, trying to stop him. And so they stopped him. It's like 2 kilometers or something like that. It's 2, maximum 3. Just down on the way to Mathura, they stopped him and some threw themselves in front of the chariot, and some just held onto the chariot, and others, particularly Srimati Radharani, went and spoke with Krishna and appealed to Krishna that don't go, please don't go, please stay. But Krishna refused, or very nicely as was possible, said, I just have to. I have to go. And so then Akrura took the chariot on, and when he did that, then the gopis fell to the ground, just like lightning bolts. And the history, Bhakti Ratnakara, says that when the people saw the gopis fall to the ground, then they understood how lightning bolts fall to the ground and just sort of smash to the ground. So then a little village became established there called Bijvari, like a lightning bolt, and it's still there. It's still there. Funny little village. With the Kund, where this actually happened, the Kund is called Naina Kund, which means the Kund of Tears. So you get this all over. It's amazing. All over Vrajmandala. So when Lord Chaitanya then came to Arit Gram at the northern end of Govardhan Hill, then Lord Chaitanya understood that this must be the place where Krishna killed Aristasura. Otherwise, it couldn't really have the name. And that means that Radhakund and Shamakund must be here, somewhere here. Right. So therefore, when he came from Vrindavan town. He came out. It's about 20 kilometers out there to the northern end of Govardhan Hill. And Lord Chaitanya, as he was traveling from Vrindavan, as we described, he was dancing in ecstasy, just completely overwhelmed. But when he came to Arit Gram, his sense perception was awakened. In other words, he started interacting with his surroundings through his senses, seeing and hearing and so on like that. Yeah. So then, let me just read the translations. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked the local people, "Where is Radha Kund?" No one could inform him. And the Brahmin accompanying him did not know either. Indirectly, there's a little instruction there. I don't know how many of you might pick up on it. Some of you might. That if you want someone to take you around Vrajmandala, best not to get the local Brahmins. Because Krishna, they don't really know what's going on much. And they're quite capable of confusing things. The Lord then understood that the holy place named Radha Kund was no longer visible. However, being the omniscient Supreme Personality of Godhead, he discovered Radha Kund and Shama Kund in 2 paddy fields. There was only a little water, but he took his bath there. Yes, in fact, they in that area they grow rice. Even to this day, they still grow rice, which is unusual for northern India. Normally they grow wheat. So Lord Chaitanya was in Arit Gram, and he understood this is the place, this is at least the vicinity where Radhakund, Shyamakund are. So he just started moving around and looking. And in the middle of one paddy field, one rice field, he found a pool which was about 3 or 4 meters by about 3 or 4 meters, or even just 3 meters, like 10 feet square. And he understood this is Radhakund. And then he went into the next rice field and again found a small pond, again at maybe 3 meters by 3. And he understood this is Shyamakund. And the Lord became ecstatic, completely ecstatic, and bathed in those 2 little ponds in the middle of these 2 rice fields. So, let's read on. So he understood that Radhakund, because of the 2, there's Radhakund, Shyamakund. It'll be the appearance day of Radhakund and Shyamakund. What it's going to be in towards the end of this month or something along those lines. Something like that, isn't it? And we'll go through the whole details of how Krishna manifested Shyamakund first, and how Radharani then manifested Radhakund. All connected with the killing of Aristasura. That Krishna was boasting that just killed another demon, Aristasura, who was in the form of a bull. And Srimati Radharani replied, a little heavily, that yes, we heard you just killed a male cow. Anyway, we'll talk about that when we get there in a few weeks. But the thing was, the gopis would not associate with Krishna unless he purified himself from the sin of killing a male cow. Even in India now, there's quite a lot of people, particularly the BJP people, they really don't like cow killing. But the male animals, they don't worry about so much. It's more just the females, the actual cows. But the males, they don't care. They don't worry about it as much. But actually, in this pastime, we see that Radharani accuses Krishna heavily that you killed a male cow. Therefore, you cannot. Don't even touch our shadows. That's pretty radical, isn't it? It's one thing touching someone's body. It's another thing touching their shadow. Prabhupada once in Hawaii, he was visiting, and a lot of devotees came from the mainland. There were a lot of devotees there in a small temple. And Prabhupada was there in the morning program one morning. They're doing Tulsi Puja, and there's so many devotees. They're kind of brushing against Tulsi. They could hardly stop, and Prabhupada stopped the kirtan and told everyone, don't touch Tulsi. So now the devotees are somehow, just cramming up against each other so as to not touch Tulsi. And then Prabhupada stopped the kirtan. And you know what Prabhupada said? don't touch Tulsi's shadow. Hare Krishna. And then now they were jumping over Tulsi's shadow. And Prabhupada stopped the kirtan and said, don't step over Tulsi's shadow. Well, what can you say except, whew, that's pretty amazing. Then later in the day, the head pujari came and spoke to Prabhupada and said, you know, Srila Prabhupada, you are emphasizing the sacredness of Tulsi so much that we shouldn't even step over her shadow. But me, the head pujari said, I have to pick Tulsi leaves every day for the puja. I have to pick Tulsi leaves and break them off. That must be a lot worse than stepping over Tulsi's shadow. So what should I do, Prabhupada? And Srila Prabhupada answered, don't live and don't die. Anyway, in other words, Hare Krishna. To some questions, the only appropriate answer is Hare Krishna. Yeah. So, because Krishna had killed, it was a demon who just by mystical power transformed himself into the form of a bull. But Radharani said, you killed a male cow. Therefore, don't even touch our shadows. Yeah. And so Krishna then manifested Shamakund. Well, he dug a hole and called all the sacred rivers, and they filled it up, and that became Shamakund. And Radharani then with a bangle dug another hole next to it, and all the holy rivers broke through and formed Shamakund. Yes, okay, so Lord Chaitanya took bath. When the people of the village saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taking his bath in those two ponds in the middle of the paddy fields, they were very much astonished. The Lord then offered his prayers to Sri Radha Kund. Sabagopi haite Radha Krishnera prayasi Taiche Radha Kunda Priya Priyara Sarasi. Of all the so this is now Lord Chaitanya speaking. Of all the gopis, Radharani is the dearmost. Similarly, the lake known as Radha Kund is very dear to the Lord because it is very dear to Srimati Radharani. Just as Srimati Radharani is most dear to Lord Krishna, so her lake known as Radha Kund is also very dear to him. Of all the gopis, Srimati Radharani is certainly the most beloved. In that lake, Lord Krishna and Srimati Radharani used to sport daily in the water and have a rasa dance on the bank. Indeed, Lord Krishna gives ecstatic love like that of Srimati Radharani, whoever bathes in that lake even once in his life. Well, devotees, I can inform you, I have bathed in Radha Kund more than once, but I'm still a bit of an ordinary person. So, I don't know. But it must be true. It is true. Maybe later later, something like that. Yes. The attraction of Radha Kund is as sweet as that of Srimati Radharani. Similarly, the glories of the Kund are as great as Srimati Radharani's. Because of its wonderful transcendental qualities, Radha Kund is as dear to Krishna as Srimati Radharani. It was in that lake that the all-opulent Lord Sri Krishna performed his pastimes with Srimati Radharani with great pleasure and transcendental bliss. Whoever bathes just once in Radha Kund attains Srimati Radharani's loving attraction for Sri Krishna. Who within this world can describe the glories and sweetness of Sri Radha Kund? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thus offered prayers to Radha Kund. Overwhelmed by ecstatic love, he danced on the bank, remembering the pastimes Lord Krishna performed on the bank of Radha Kund. Yes. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then marked his body with tilak, made from the mud of Radha Kund. And with the help of Balabhadra Bhattacharya, he collected some of the mud and took it with him. And then Lord Chaitanya went to Kusum Sarovar. Yes, so this is very interesting. I mean, this is very amazing, actually. Very amazing that in Krishna consciousness, we find statements like this. They're like blessings, you could say. They're like blessings. Generally, or sometimes they're called phalastuti. Phalastuti, phala meaning fruit, and stuti meaning a prayer or a glorification like that. So phalastuti means some glorification of what will the result be if you, for example, in this case, if you bathe in Radha Kund. And it is interesting to note that Shama Kund is really not mentioned much, particularly Radha Kund. The emphasis is really on Radha Kund. So, this is like, you could say, a phalastuti. Lord Chaitanya himself is saying that if you bathe in Radha Kund, then just one time, just once, then you will get the loving mood of Srimati Radharani, at least that type of mood. Obviously, the degree to which you'd get it would not be on the same level as Srimati Radharani, but at least in a broader sense, the type of mood. So that's there. That's there. Blessings, benedictions are there. But we should also note that it's not just some sort of a quick shortcut. It's not just a quick shortcut. You know, in the Vedic tradition, in Hinduism, there are people who, because in the Vedic literatures, there are so many of these phalastutis. If you bathe in this place at this time on this day, then you'll get X, Y, Z. And if you give charity to such and such type of person on this day at this time, you will get X, Y, Z. All this sort of thing. And so there are people who just simply move around following those, trying every day to be in some particular place where on that day something or other, if you do something or other, you get something or other. But it's not quite as simple. It's not quite as simple as that. Not to say that the blessings, particularly like in this case, this is Lord Chaitanya himself speaking. You know, Chaitanya Bhagavat has many, many of these blessings, so many of these blessings. If you listen to this pastime very carefully, then generally something like, you will get the mercy, or you'll develop love for Lord Chaitanya, something like that. But it's not like a shortcut. It's not like a shortcut. We have to make the effort. You know, we have the month of Damodar coming up in less than 3 weeks. I think the 21st is the first day. And of course, you know, around that time we'll talk about the pastime of Mother Yashoda and Krishna as Damodar, and the tying with the rope. And I'm sure you're all familiar with the basic idea of that at least. The rope was 2 fingers too short. You know about that, right? The 2 fingers. But then eventually when her mood reached such a level, making such an effort, and then Krishna was merciful and he let the rope be long enough. Otherwise, she already had a few kilometers of rope, but it wouldn't get around little Krishna's stomach even once. Yeah. So then she just reached that sort of fever pitch of concern for how to help her little boy, Krishna. And then Krishna couldn't stop himself. He was forced to let the rope be long enough. Otherwise, it was 2 fingers too short. And one of our great acharyas, Sridhar Swami, he says the 2 fingers, right? 2. 1 finger represents the effort of the devotee. The effort of the devotee. The second finger, number 2, represents the mercy of Krishna. Both things have to be there. It's not just, just make your best effort and go for it and it's up to you. And it's also not a matter of just sitting back and saying to Krishna, okay, if you want this done, go ahead and do it. Both things have to be there. The effort of the devotee and the mercy of the Lord. So, and that's the 2 fingers. But, as we say sometimes, I don't know how your fingers are, but can you see my fingers? See? This is the my effort finger, you see? This one. And this one is the Krishna's mercy finger. You see which is the longer of the 2? I know if it's like that on your hand. But on my hand, the Krishna's mercy finger is the longer, noticeably longer. In other words, you got to make your best effort. As Prabhupada said, in Krishna consciousness, there's no place for lazies or crazies. Particularly lazies, I think, but okay. So, we got to make our best effort. But still, the main thing is the mercy of the Lord. The mercy of the Lord is always the main thing. So therefore these benedictions and different blessings which you find here and there, like in the Bhagavatam, in the last verses about Maharaj Prithu in the 4th canto, there's a whole lot of blessings, for people who read that, read the pastime of Maharaj Prithu. There's quite a number for all sorts of things. You know, even things like if you want to become a king, if you read this pastime of King Prithu, you can become a king. I know anyone like to become a king? King of South Africa? Good luck. King of Sandton. Yeah, anyway, that's what it says. Have a look and see. It's really interesting. You know, of course, Srimad Bhagavatam is completely transcendental. But at the same time, having said that, it's not only transcendentally powerful, it's just powerful in all respects. It has all power, spiritual and material. It's not that it only has spiritual power and has no material power. It also has material power. So these blessings are important. They're very important. And therefore, when we go to Radha Kund, you know, of course we should get permission from the spiritual master, and we should do it all really in a very, as devotional a spirit as we're capable of having, and as humbly as possible. But the blessing is there. The blessing is there. Therefore, it's very wonderful, at least to take some water and put it on your head. And the mercy will come in due course. But it doesn't mean that you don't need to make some special effort and really try to become Krishna conscious. You do. You really have to try. So I will close in a moment. I'm just going to read these few verses from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur from Vrajariti Chintamani, because they're very, very beautiful. Radha Kund and Shama Kund are Govardhan's two love-filled eyes, because it nourishes the Gopas, Gopis, and Surabhi cows with Lord Madhava's sweetness. The hill shines with the name Govardhan. Well, Vardhan means to nourish. Go meaning the cows or the Gopis or the Gopas. Shamakund and Radhakund are two great floods of the nectar of beauty. They're two great oceans of splendor. They're two beautiful roots from which sweet devotional service grows. They're two jewel mines of love. They're two seeds from which grow the jewel vines of transcendental pastimes. How did they become two splendid and nectar-sweet lakes? By seeing these two lakes, Radha and Krishna believe they're present in them. It is as if they directly see each other there. The wise say that by approaching these lakes, one directly approaches Radha and Krishna. Longing to meet, but forced to remain separate, Radha and Krishna assumed the forms of Radha Kund and Shama Kund. In this way they become splashed with the nectar of meeting each other. I think that when Radha saw Krishna, she melted with ecstasy and thus assumed the liquid state of the waters of Radha Kund. And in the same way, when Krishna saw Radha, he also melted in ecstasy and became the waters of Shama Kund. In this way, these two lakes bear the names and qualities of the divine couple. Out of great kindness to the people, so they could directly taste their sweetness, Radha and Krishna have become these two lakes. Shining with happiness, the devotees bathe in these two lakes. I think these two lakes are the divine couple's love. They who are fortunate bathe there, because bathing there is like bathing in their transcendental love. These two lakes bear the names of the divine couple. Hare Krishna. Shri Radhakund Shamakund Ki. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Are you collecting questions? Are there questions? One? Okay. Coming, yeah? Okay. Yes, well, devotees, I haven't discussed it with Vibhu Chaitanya Prabhu yet, I must do. We are planning next year to have parikrama in Vrindavan. Yes. As long as COVID is no worse than it is now, and as long as I am as vaccinated as I am now, measurably, then we're just going to do it and hope for the best or pray to Krishna. And we're going to have an English language parikrama, and we're going to have a Russian language parikrama. So take your choice. Because when you mix the Russian and the English, I mean, it's okay, it's nice, but still, we'll separate them. We'll have two parikramas. Now, okay, so we have a question, it seems, just coming. So then we'll have kirtan and an arti, and then we'll chant japa. Okay, can you just read it out to me? Oh, if one has accepted someone, is it, as Siksha Guru, but one has a Diksha Guru also. Well, anyway, put it this way. If you have someone who is a Siksha Guru for you, is it all right to chant their pranam mantra? The answer would be yes. Because, you know, Siksha Guru doesn't just mean just someone who gives you some instructions here or there. Siksha Guru means the person is actually a guru figure in your life. So there's a difference between, you could say, someone who, you know, is nice and you have a nice relationship with, and they give you some instructions now and then, but then it's more like good association, which is not necessarily the same, not necessarily as deep a connection, and the sort of the result of the association of someone who's really a Siksha Guru, it means that the instructions they give are sort of, what would you say? They form one's life. At least they're an important part of forming one's life, not just giving some nice advice from time to time. That's more just good association. But Siksha Guru means the instructions of the person are really important as part of the foundation of your life in Krishna consciousness. So then is it okay to chant the pranam mantra of such a person? Yes, you should really. You should. To acknowledge the part they're playing in your life. Is that okay? Was that from Bhima Prabhu? Hare Krishna. He asked a very good question this morning at Midrand. Should we use ghee or should we use sunflower oil? And I related my experience. My first 7 years in ISKCON were in England, and there we never used anything other than either ghee or just butter. Yeah, never. It was only when I went to certain areas where there are a lot of Hindu people and we were doing fundraising in the Hindu communities. So I went to one area and I found they were using peanut oil. What to speak of sunflower oil? Peanut oil. And yeah, so I guess we had some peanut oil prasad there a little bit. But otherwise, we only used ghee or butter. I mean, it never occurred to us to use anything else. It was just, it never happened. And, you know, there's an interesting story of Srila Prabhupada in regards to peanut oil specifically. In I think San Diego or Laguna Beach maybe, somewhere there, Southern California, Prabhupada was visiting, I think, anyway, somewhere down there. And the temple president approached Prabhupada and said, you know, one of our friends is offering us a really good deal on peanut oil. Can we use it? You know, because if we do, we can pay more to the BBT. We can donate more for book publication. And Prabhupada kind of casually said, well, peanut oil is not so good, really. And the temple president said, but Prabhupada, if we use it, we'll save, you know, thousands of dollars, and we can support the book publication. That would be good, wouldn't it? And Prabhupada said, peanut oil is not so good. And, you know, Prabhupada sometimes would sort of, you might say, understate if you're someone who's dependent on, you know, really being told straight to your face. You know, if you're not so good at getting subtle hints. Prabhupada was sometimes a bit too subtle. So the temple president asked a third time. And Prabhupada, pardon the French, Prabhupada said, use any damn thing you like. and then the temple president said, oh, you mean it's not so good? And Prabhupada said, I knew one man. One night, he had a whole feast of pakoras deep fried in peanut oil. And the temple president said, oh, what happened to him, Prabhupada? And Prabhupada said, he died the next morning. So there was no more talk of peanut oil. Anyway, I know there's an economic consideration, but ghee definitely. Ghee as such. Butter for certain things, like for halava, butter is better. I mean, it has more taste than ghee if you make halava. Yeah. Anyway, Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, okay, let's have arti. And then for those who want, we will chant japa. And for those who feel they want to move on, then you can carry on and get prasadam. Where is it? Up there somewhere. You can get your prasadam up there somewhere and take it with you. Okay, so everyone please stand up for the arti. Where's Bhima? Oh, who's going to play? Anyway, someone will, yeah. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gauranga. Nityananda, Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gauranga, Nityananda, Prabhupada, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gauranga, Nityananda, Prabhupada, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gauranga, Nityananda, Prabhupada, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gauranga, Nityananda, Prabhupada, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gauranga, Nityananda, Prabhupada, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nityananda, Prabhupada, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jagannatha Baladeva Subhadra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jagannatha Baladeva Subhadra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gauranga Nityananda Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gauranga Nityananda Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, 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 Haribo. Netta Haribo, 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 Haribo. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya, Tadasishtamad His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki, ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki, Anant Kori Vaishnava Vrinda Ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki, Prem Sri Krishna Chaitanya Brahmanichananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasani Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki, Shishi Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamkund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki, Shri Mayapur Dham Ki, Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki, Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki, Shri Shri Nitai Gaura Hari Ki, Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi Ki, Shri Giri Govardhan Ki, Sankirtan Yagya Ki, Gopremanande. All glories to their Sama devotees. All glories to their Sama devotees. All glories to their Sama devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So devotees, please have a seat for just a moment. Sadhu Sangha Prabhu has gone to Lens for some devotional service there. For those who would like, we will have japa here for a while, at least half an hour, up to an hour. We'll see how it goes. So anyone can stay for the whole thing or part of it as you like. Although if some of you would like to just move on, go back home, you can collect your prasadam up there and carry on. Otherwise, as I understand, for those of you who'd like to stay for japa, generally prasadam is brought down here for you, and then you can just stay as long as you like. Hare Krishna. And I am going to, what would you say? What would be the right word? Not christen, that's not the right word. Huh? Krishnize. No, not really. Well, yes. But I'm going to do our first round of japa on our special japa path here. The devotees really worked hard yesterday setting this up. Those who would like to follow me, you are welcome. One mantra on each stepping stone. Then I'll come back and I'll sit here and chant from here. Okay? So there you go, devotees. It's up to you. If you feel you'd like to head back home, that's fine, no problem at all. Otherwise, feel free to stay and chant japa with us. Hare Krishna. Ooh. Can we turn this down a little? Anyway, if you want to just keep going around, feel free. If you want to just come and sit back down after one round, feel free. Okay? So, the ISKCON, Sandton, ISKCON, Edinburgh, Japa walk, we declare officially open. And may it be well used. Please put it to use. You can turn the volume up slightly. Or was it you? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. It's okay. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, 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 yes. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, 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 Hare Rama, Hare Bol, Zanelli. Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, 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 Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari Hari. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Hare Krishna. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari Ram Hari Ram. Ram Ram. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari Ram Hari Ram. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari Hari Ram Hari Ram. Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram. Rama Rama Hari Hari Sri Krishna. Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shastri Gauranga. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari Hari Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Hari Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Prabhupada Hari Rama Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari Hari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari Ram Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari Ram Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari Hari Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Hari Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadisha Sri Gauranga Hare Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Hare Krishna Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari Hari Rama Rama Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari Hari Sri Krishna Chaitanya Brahmanacharya Shri Hari Vedikadari Sas Hari Govinda Hari Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram 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 Hari 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 Bol Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari Hari Oi Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Ram Ram Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna Krishna Hari 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 Ram Hari Hare Krishna, everyone. See you before too long. Yeah. Anyone like to Gala? Do you know whose was that?
The concept.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. The mic stand is the KB. We keep it with us here.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, because it really, yeah,